The invitation arrived 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, Mom's handwriting, the same looping script she'd used on birthday cards my entire life. Family dinner at our house, 6 p.m., please come. It's been too long. I stared at it for 20 minutes, my therapist's words echoing, you don't owe anyone access to you during your healing process, but guilt is a powerful thing. I texted back, I'll be there. Dr. Morrison had been helping me for 8 months. Depression and anxiety, the kind that makes getting out of bed feel like climbing a mountain, the kind my family called just being negative, or needing to try harder. The medication was finally working. Therapy was working. I was working. My brother didn't believe in any of it. Marcus had his doctorate in clinical psychology, a thriving practice in the suburbs, and an ego that filled every room he entered. At every family gathering, someone mentioned his success. Marcus helped another patient overcome trauma. Marcus was quoted in that magazine article. Marcus is doing such important work. I arrived at 6:15, intentionally late. The house smelled like turkey and tension. My sister waved from the kitchen. Dad was carving meat. Mom rushed over to hug me, whispering, you look thin. Are you eating? I'm fine, Mom. Marcus sat at the head of the table like he owned it, his wife beside him, their 2 kids already destroying roles. He glanced up when I entered, nodded once, then returned to his phone. Dinner started normally, past the potatoes. How's work? Did you see that game? The usual choreography of a family pretending everything was fine. Then Mom made the mistake. Sweetheart, how are you doing? Really doing? The table went quiet. Everyone knew what she was asking. I'm better, I said carefully. Therapy is helping. Marcus's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. You're still going to that? Twice a week. He laughed. Actually laughed. That's excessive. What do you possibly talk about for 2 hours a week? My sister jumped in. Marcus, don't. No, I'm genuinely asking. He leaned back, crossing his arms. I'm a professional. I work with actual patients who have real problems. Clinical depression, severe trauma, PTSD. What you're describing sounds like normal life stress. My hand tightened around my water glass. Dr. Morrison had prepared me for this. Stay calm. Don't engage. You don't need to defend your healing. But my aunt asked, what do you mean, Marcus? He seized the opening like he'd been waiting for it. Look, I'm not trying to be harsh, but someone needs to say it. Marcus gestured toward me with his fork. You're not even really depressed. You have a job, an apartment, friends. Real depression is debilitating. You're just going through a rough patch and calling it a mental illness. My mom frowned. Marcus, that seems. I'm a licensed therapist, Mom. I know the diagnostic criteria. I see patients every single day who can't get out of bed, who've lost everything, who have actual chemical imbalances requiring serious intervention. He looked directly at me. You're just sad sometimes. That's called being human. Just stop being weak about it. The words landed like physical blows. Around the table faces showed various degrees of discomfort. My sister looked furious. Dad stared at his plate. My aunt's mouth hung open. But Marcus wasn't done. These therapists, they keep you coming back, because that's how they make money. Twice a week. That's what, $300 a week? You're being scammed. You need to toughen up, stop playing victim, and get on with your life like everyone else. My hand was shaking. Under the table, I pulled out my phone and opened the voice recorder app. I pressed record and set it in my lap. So you're saying I don't have depression? My voice was steadier than I felt. I'm saying you've convinced yourself you do, because a therapist told you so. It's trendy now. Everyone wants a diagnosis. Everyone wants to be a victim. But from where I'm sitting, with my professional experience, you look like someone who needs to stop feeling sorry for themselves. Based on what assessment? He snorted. Based on knowing you your entire life. Based on my professional judgment. As someone who actually understands psychology, I could tell within 5 minutes whether you meet diagnostic criteria. Trust me, you don't. So you're diagnosing me right now. I'm telling you what any competent therapist would tell you. You're wasting your time and money on something you don't have. I picked up my purse, phone still recording. I need to use the bathroom. In the bathroom, I stopped the recording. 3 minutes and 47 seconds. Crystal clear audio. His voice stating he was a licensed therapist, that he was making a professional judgment, that he could diagnose me, that he knew better than my actual doctor. My hands were still shaking, but not from anxiety anymore. I opened my laptop when I got home. The State Psychology Licensing Board website loaded slowly. I clicked File a Complaint and started reading. Psychologists shall avoid dual relationships that could impair their professional judgment. or exploit patients. Psychologists shall not provide professional services to family members, close friends, or others with whom they have a pre-existing relationship that could impair objectivity. Psychologists shall conduct proper assessments before making diagnostic conclusions. I downloaded the complaint form. It was 4 pages long, asking for detailed information, dates, witnesses, evidence. I typed for 2 hours. The incident at Thanksgiving dinner was just the beginning. I documented everything. His comments at my birthday 3 years ago, when he'd said antidepressants were overprescribed garbage. The text message from last Christmas, where he'd said therapy was for people who can't handle real life. The time he'd told my mom, in front of me, that I was being dramatic about normal stress. But the recording was the centerpiece. I attached it with a transcript. I'm a licensed therapist, Mom. I know the diagnostic criteria. You're not even really depressed. I could tell within 5 minutes whether you meet diagnostic criteria. That's my professional judgment, as someone who actually understands psychology. Under violations alleged, I checked multiple boxes: providing professional services to family member without proper therapeutic relationship, making diagnostic statements without formal assessment, creating dual relationship that impairs professional judgment, dismissing legitimate mental health condition, discouraging patient from continuing appropriate treatment, invoking professional credentials to provide unauthorized professional opinion. I wrote in the additional comments section, my brother repeatedly used his credentials as a licensed psychologist to make professional judgments about my mental health status, despite having no therapeutic relationship with me, conducting no formal assessment, and having a clear conflict of interest as a family member. His statements directly contradicted my diagnosed condition and could have discouraged me from continuing legitimate treatment. This occurred in front of multiple witnesses at a family gathering, where he explicitly invoked his professional status to lend authority to his opinions. I attached Dr. Morrison's letter confirming my diagnosis, my prescription records, and a statement from my sister, who'd witnessed multiple incidents. At 11:47 p.m., on November 28, I clicked Submit Complaint. The automated response arrived immediately. Your complaint has been received. Case number 2024. NEAT 1847. An investigator will be assigned within 10 business days. All complaints are taken seriously and investigated thoroughly. I closed my laptop and took my medication. For the first time in weeks, I slept soundly. 2 weeks passed. I didn't hear from anyone in my family, which was fine. Dr. Morrison and I processed the dinner in our sessions. She was proud of how I'd handled it, concerned about the emotional impact, supportive of my decision to file the complaint. You're protecting future patients, she said. If he's doing this to you, his own sister, what's he doing in his practice? I hadn't thought of it that way. On December 12th, my phone rang. Unknown number. This is Investigator Patricia Wells from the State Psychology Licensing Board. I'm calling regarding complaint 2024, NEAT 1847. Do you have time to speak? I sat down. Yes, I've reviewed your complaint and supporting documentation. I need to inform you that we take allegations of boundary violations extremely seriously. I've listened to the recording 3 times. Do you have any additional witnesses who heard these statements? My parents, my sister, my aunt, and his wife, all at the dinner table. We'll need to interview them. I also need to inform you that we've opened a formal investigation into your brother's practice. Based on the pattern you've documented, we're concerned this may not be an isolated incident. My heart pounded. What happens next? He'll be notified of the investigation within 48 hours. He'll have an opportunity to respond. There will be a preliminary hearing. If the evidence supports your allegations, and frankly that recording is quite damning, we'll proceed to a formal ethics hearing before the board. What are the potential consequences? That depends on our findings. Options range from mandatory continuing education to license suspension or revocation. In cases involving family members, where the psychologist should have known better than to invoke their credentials inappropriately, we tend toward the more serious end of that spectrum. After we hung up, I sat in silence for a long time. My phone buzzed. Text from my sister. Marcus just called Dad screaming about some investigation. What did you do? I didn't respond. 3 days later, Marcus called me directly. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. What the hell did you do? The licensing board. Are you serious? You're trying to destroy my career because I told you the truth at Thanksgiving. This is insane. You're proving my point about being unstable. Call me back. We need to fix this before it goes any further. I saved the voicemail and forwarded it to Investigator Wells with a note. Additional evidence of his belief that his statements were appropriate professional judgments. She replied within an hour. Thank you. This is helpful. Please save all communications from him. The hearing was scheduled for January 15th. I received a formal subpoena to testify. My sister did too. So did my parents. On January 10th, Mom called. Please, she said, please withdraw the complaint. Marcus could lose everything. His practice, his license, his reputation. Is that really what you want? Over one dinner conversation. It wasn't one conversation, Mom. It's been years. He was trying to help. He was invoking his professional credentials to dismiss my diagnosed mental illness. That's not help, that's harmful, and it's an ethics violation. But he's your brother, which makes it worse, not better. He should have known better than anyone not to do what he did. She hung up crying. The preliminary hearing happened without me, just the investigator, Marcus, his lawyer, and the three-person panel. I was told I'd testify at the formal hearing in March. On January 20th, I received a letter. The preliminary review panel has found sufficient evidence to proceed with a formal ethics hearing regarding case 2024-8847. The respondent's license to practice psychology is hereby temporarily suspended pending the outcome of the formal hearing. Temporarily suspended. My phone exploded with messages. Marcus, Mom, Dad, his wife, all furious, all blaming me. Only my sister texted, good. He needed to face consequences. I'm proud of you. Dr. Morrison scheduled an emergency session. How are you feeling? Guilty, I admitted, but also relieved, like I finally stood up for myself. That's exactly what you did. You set a boundary. You protected yourself and potentially others. That's not something to feel guilty about. The formal hearing is in 6 weeks. Marcus hired a high-profile attorney who specializes in professional licensing defense. My sister hired one for me, paid for it herself. I found out yesterday that 2 of Marcus's former patients have filed additional complaints. They heard about the investigation through professional networks. Their complaints describe similar behavior, dismissing their conditions, telling them they're exaggerating, invoking his expertise to contradict other providers' diagnoses. The board is now investigating those as well. Last night, I got a letter from Marcus's attorney. Settlement offer. Marcus will attend an ethics course, pay a fine, and accept a formal reprimand. In exchange, I withdraw my complaint and sign a non-disclosure agreement. I forwarded it to my attorney. Her response, your choice. But that recording is powerful evidence. The board wants to make an example of this type of boundary violation. If you're comfortable proceeding, I think we'll win. I'm thinking about it, not because I want to destroy Marcus's career, but because Dr. Morrison was right. If he did this to me, he's doing it to vulnerable patients who trust him. My phone is on the table. The hearing notice, the settlement offer, my medication bottle. I pick up the medication bottle first, take my evening dose, then I open my laptop and type a response to my attorney. Proceed with the hearing. No settlement. I press send. I'd been coming to Riverside Coffee for 6 years, always ordering the same thing at the same table by the window. Marcus, the manager, knew my routine. Tuesday and Thursday mornings, 8:30 sharp, medium roast with room for cream. I'd work through emails for an hour before heading to the office. My brother Derek didn't know this. We hadn't spoken in 14 months, not since our father's funeral, when he'd announced to the entire family that he'd be contesting the will. He'd hired an attorney that same week, so when he walked through the door that Thursday morning, scanning the room until his eyes locked on mine, I knew it wasn't coincidence. We need to talk, Derek said, standing over my table. I looked up from my laptop. You have an attorney, have him contact mine. I'm not talking to your lawyer, I'm talking to you. He pulled out the chair across from me and sat down. Dad's estate should have been split 50-50. You know that. Dad's will was clear. He left specific instructions, because you manipulated him. Derek's voice was rising. The couple at the next table glanced over. You were always his favorite. You convinced him to cut me out. You cut yourself out, I said quietly. Dad gave you 3 chances to get clean. You stole from him twice. He didn't trust you with money, because you proved you couldn't be trusted. Derek's face flushed. That was years ago. I'm sober now. That money is mine. The will says otherwise. The will is bullshit. He was nearly shouting now. Marcus had appeared behind the counter, watching. Other customers had stopped talking. You poisoned him against me. You took everything. I closed my laptop carefully. This conversation was going nowhere, and Derek was drawing attention we didn't need. I'm not discussing this here. Your attorney can file whatever motions you want. The estate is settled. Dad's will was clear. You received what he allocated, $20,000. Derek spat the words. While you got the house, the investments, the business assets. That's not fair. Dad left you $20,000, with the provision that you remain in treatment. You left rehab after 6 weeks. The trust dissolved, because I didn't need to be there anymore. The trust required 90 days. You knew the terms. Derek stood abruptly. His chair scraped loudly against the floor. Every person in the cafe was watching now. You don't get to keep my inheritance. I'm taking you back to court. You already tried that. The judge denied your motion. Then I'll file again. I'll appeal. I'll make your life hell until you do the right thing. The right thing, I said, is honoring our father's wishes. He wrote that will when he was healthy and competent. He had reasons for every decision he made. Derek grabbed the coffee cup from the table next to us. A full ceramic mug that someone had just ordered. The woman gasped, reaching out. Before I could react, Derek threw the contents directly at my chest. The coffee was scalding hot, just poured moments before. It soaked through my shirt immediately, burning my skin. I gasped, but didn't move, didn't stand, didn't raise my hands. The liquid was spreading across my chest and stomach, the heat intensifying with each second. Around us, chairs scraped as people stood. Someone shouted. The burning sensation was extraordinary. That money belongs to me, Derek yelled. I don't care what some piece of paper says. Dad owed me. You owe me. I still hadn't moved. The coffee was dripping onto my lap, my pants, pooling on the floor. My chest felt like it was on fire, but I kept my hands on the table, kept my eyes on Derek's face. Marcus was already around the counter, moving fast. Sir, you need to leave. Now, I'm calling the police. Stay out of this, Derek snapped. This is family business. Go ahead, call them, Derek said, his voice rising again. Tell them how she stole my inheritance. Tell them how she manipulated a dying old man into cutting out his own son. 2 other customers, both men in business suits, had moved closer. One of them, tall with graying hair, said firmly, You need to go, buddy, right now, before this gets worse for you. Derek looked around at all of them, at me still sitting silently with coffee soaking my clothes and dripping onto the floor, and something seemed to break in him. His face was red, his hands shaking. This isn't over, he said, pointing at me. You don't get to keep what's mine. He left. The door chimed behind him. Marcus was at my table immediately, his face pale. Are you burned? Do you need an ambulance? I need to change my shirt, I said. My voice sounded strange, distant. The adrenaline was starting to fade, and the burning sensation was becoming sharper, more focused. I could feel exactly where the coffee had hit. Let me see. Marcus was already pulling napkins from the dispenser on the table, gently lifting my shirt collar to look at my chest. His expression tightened. That's 2nd-degree burns at least. You're going to the ER. This isn't negotiable. I'm fine. You're not fine. That coffee was just poured less than 2 minutes ago. It was over 180 degrees. He turned to one of the other customers, the woman whose coffee Derek had grabbed. Call 911. Tell them we have burn injuries from an assault. The woman who'd been sitting next to us was crying. I'm so sorry. That was my coffee. He just grabbed it. It's not your fault, I told her. The paramedics arrived within 8 minutes. At the hospital they cleaned and dressed the 2nd-degree burns across my chest and stomach. The attending physician, Dr. Okafor, said the scarring would be permanent. A police officer came to take my statement. I told her everything. The confrontation, Derek's claims, the assault. She photographed my injuries. This is assault with injury, she said. We've already spoken to the cafe manager. He has security footage of everything. I was released with prescriptions and follow-up instructions. My phone had 63 notifications. 3 were from Marcus. His messages said he'd sent the security footage to my work email, and that Derek had returned, threatening him. Marcus had called the police again. I opened my email. Marcus had sent the footage to my work address, the one that went directly to my legal assistant at Whitmore, Haddad and Associates, one of the most prominent estate planning firms in the state. I wasn't just a lawyer. I was a trusts and estates attorney at Whitmore, Haddad and Associates, one of the most prominent estate planning firms in the state. I'd been practicing for 12 years, specializing in complex inheritance disputes, trust administration, and will contests. I'd handled cases involving estates worth millions, family businesses, and complicated trust structures. I'd handled my father's estate myself, with careful oversight from our firm's ethics committee, to ensure everything was proper and above board. Derek didn't know any of this. He thought I was a paralegal, or an office manager at a law firm. I'd never corrected him, because it wasn't worth the argument, and honestly, it made family gatherings easier. But Marcus knew. He'd been my client 3 years ago when his own father had passed away unexpectedly. I'd helped him navigate a difficult estate situation with complicated business assets. We'd stayed friendly afterward, which is why I kept coming to his cafe. He knew exactly what I did, and who I worked with. And now he'd sent video evidence of my brother assaulting me directly to my firm's senior partners. My phone rang. Catherine Whitmore, the founding partner. I just watched the footage, she said. Are you all right? Second-degree burns. I'll be out a few days. Take as long as you need. This is assault on an attorney during a legal dispute. I'm referring this to the Bar Association and the DA's office. I'm assigning Michael and Stephanie to work with you. Your brother assaulted you over an estate you handled ethically. He'll face every consequence. Michael Chen and Stephanie Rodriguez were the other senior partners. Both had over 20 years in estate litigation. After Catherine hung up, I sat in my car, looking at my bandaged chest. Derek had always been impulsive. Our father had tried to help, paying for 4 rehab programs, giving him money repeatedly. Each time Derek squandered it. The will was Dad's last attempt. The $20,000 trust wasn't punishment, it was a lifeline with conditions. Stay clean 90 days, prove you're serious, get the money. Derek lasted 6 weeks. Stephanie Rodriguez called. Send me every document related to your father's estate. We're building a case for harassment. I don't want to escalate. He escalated by assaulting you. If violent family members can attack estate attorneys without consequences, it sets a precedent. We can't allow that. Derek was arrested the next day, charged with second-degree assault. Our mother begged me to drop charges. I explained the state was prosecuting, not me. She hung up. The preliminary hearing was 3 weeks later. Derek's attorney tried to argue heat-of-the-moment action. The prosecutor played the cafe footage. The video showed Derek deliberately grabbing the coffee from another table and throwing it at me. It showed me sitting motionless while he shouted. This wasn't momentary, the prosecutor said. This was calculated violence. The judge bound him over for trial. My firm reviewed his estate contest. Stephanie found procedural errors. Michael discovered Derek had lied about his sobriety. Catherine filed motions to sanction his attorney and counterclaimed for costs, medical bills, and damages. The hearing was brutal. Catherine presented the footage, medical records, and Derek's pattern of failed sobriety. She showed evidence of his thefts from our father and trust violations. The judge dismissed Derek's estate contest with prejudice. Derek was ordered to pay $47,000 in fees, and permanently barred from contesting the estate. The criminal trial was 4 months later. The jury saw the footage, heard witnesses, reviewed my medical records. They deliberated 2 hours. Guilty. Derek was sentenced to 18 months with credit for time served, ordered to pay medical expenses, and complete substance abuse treatment. My mother stopped speaking to me, blaming me for Derek's imprisonment. Some family agreed with her, others understood. My aunt said, "Your father knew what he was doing. You honored his wishes." The burns healed slowly. Dr. Okafor was right about the scarring. My chest and stomach have permanent marks where the coffee hit. They've faded to pale lines over time, but they're still visible. I think of them as a reminder that doing the right thing sometimes costs something. Derek was released after 14 months. He moved to another state. We don't speak. I heard from a cousin that he's working as a warehouse supervisor and attending NA meetings regularly. I hope that's true. I hope he's finally found the stability our father tried so hard to help him achieve. I still go to Riverside Coffee on Tuesday and Thursday mornings. Marcus still knows my order. We don't talk about that day unless I bring it up, which I don't. But sometimes, sitting by the window with my medium roast, I think about the security cameras mounted discreetly in the corners. I think about Marcus sending that footage to my firm. I think about Catherine, Michael and Stephanie building a legal case that ensured Derek faced real consequences. I think about my father's will, carefully drafted to protect a son who couldn't protect himself. and about how some people see protection as punishment. Inheritance isn't just about money, it's about trust, about responsibility, about understanding that what we leave behind reflects our values. My father valued accountability. He valued earned trust. He valued the hard work of recovery over empty promises. Derek saw only the money he didn't get. I still have the coffee-stained shirt they cut off me in the ambulance. I kept it, though I'm not sure why. Maybe as evidence that sometimes the cost of standing firm is literally burned into your skin. But I'd make the same choices again. Some things are worth the scars.